On this episode of Outside of the Box, Christine recaps episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 of BattleBots, along with interviewing Alex Price of Calypso about their surprise last-minute substitution.
It was all kind of a blur. Obviously, we had big shoes to fill. You have to, suddenly fill in the shoes of a legend in Tombstone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an extra large episode of Outside of the Box. This is extra large because we are talking about 4 different episodes of BattleBots Pro League, and that's a lot of fights that we have to talk about. So it's going to be a lot of content, finished at the end with a fun interview with Price of Team Calypso, because I have to talk about that fight. It was an amazing fight, crazy set of circumstances, and I think that we need to dive a little bit deeper into it. So the first episode that I'm going to talk about, of course, is episode 3. And the first fight in that episode was Switchback versus Ribot. Both robots that, have been around for a while and have done some obvious changes and improvements. I think that they both look quite a bit different, and you saw some of that in the fight, because some robots, when you make big changes, it makes a pretty swift impact, where they're able to do more of what they want to do. And for some robots, there's a little bit more of growing pains where something happens and they need to kind of go back and look at that. So first of all, crazy with Switchback that I didn't realize until this episode that there were essentially 6 people on there that have been at the forefront of major BattleBots teams. That's crazy, and that's a lot of experience. If you didn't catch that, I recommend you watching the walkout and kind of looking at everybody on the team. Amazing level of experience there. The Ribot team, also, experience, like Nick Sorensen's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. But it really, you could see a difference in the way that fight turned out, obviously. 41-second tap out. I have to say, though, that for 41 seconds, that was one of the most enjoyable fights to watch. Just Switchback frog handled Ribot. It was quite a sight to see. And I thought that it was just really exciting to have Switchback have a performance like that, because historically, they've been good, but I think that they have the potential to be great. And I think that was a really good example of that. We'll be curious to see how the rest of things go for them. But it was a really good fight. Just a really good fight and a good way to start off the episode. The second fight was Disarray versus Magnitude, which are both newer robots. Magnitude has a little bit more familiar folks on the team that have been on previous BattleBots teams, or things like that, whereas Disarray, students out of the University of Arizona, go Wildcats. So there could be some experience differential there as well. The Disarray team seemed very confident before the fight. And I think that in competitions like this, you have to be, you want to have that positivity going into the fight. But the fact is that, at least in BattleBots for sure, drums hit hard and they will wreck you. Most of the drum bots that I can think of off the top of my head are really good at doing that. And Magnitude just really hit them quite a bit, and took some pieces off very quickly. And it, wasn't a super long fight after that. I think that, Disarray did seem to be having some issues outside of just being hit by Magnitude. And that's something that they definitely would have had to go back in and look at. But good on Magnitude. I think that it's a solid robot. And, we'll see what it does. Because like I said, drums are good and Chad and Luke know what they're doing. The last fight in that episode was Terror Tops versus Valkyrie. it was a pretty fast KO. Now, that all being said, keeping in mind that it seems from the, previous stuff that showed up in the episode, Valkyrie had a lot of work to do last minute. So I don't think that they were likely as ready as they could have been or wanted to be. So the outcome makes a lot of sense. But Terratops, so like the funny thing is that Chris and Kenny were talking about Terratops as like, oh my God, all of a sudden it's really good. It's always been good. Like Terratops has always been good, and it looks just as good as I remember the last time I seen it in fights. So, to be fair, like they've always been a robot that I have felt was a contender. They looked incredible versus Valkyrie. I see so much potential for that robot, and I love it. I love the design, I love the theming, like I love everything about it. It was a good fight, a lot of these shorter fights we're not seeing a lot of go in the 3 minutes kind of situation, but it was still honestly a really fun episode and probably like my favorite up to that point of the 3 episodes that they had shown. Now, the next episode, episode 4, started off with Cobalt versus the twins. Matt Olson, obviously formerly of Team Lucky. The twins, another amazing entry from Seems Reasonable, creative and innovative entry as they kind of always come with. Now, magnets, that seems like it's going to be a big factor here. But historically, as we know, multi-bots don't work in BattleBots. We've seen them work really well at the lower weight classes and things like that, but in BattleBots, not normally very successful. However, when you have a team like Seems Reasonable, led by Aaron Hill, Aaron's gonna be able to figure some things out and look at, what was successful in the smaller bots, how that can translate to the bigger bots, and you really saw that here. I thought it was interesting because there was such a big standoff at the beginning where it looked like more hesitation from Cobalt, and the twins were more trying to line up in a way where if Cobalt decided to go after one of them, then the other one would come in and hit. And that's the danger with multi-bots. That does seem to be where that played out, because you can't stay pointed at 2 robots. And if either of those robots is capable of doing damage to you immediately, then that's a problem for you. Now, am I a little bit surprised though that Cobalt of all robots was hesitant because Cobalt is historically so aggressive? Yes, because we've seen what Cobalt can do to some robots. I mean, that thing can kill you in one hit, and if it one-shots one of the twins, then that makes it a lot harder for the other twin to really get much done. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at the lack of aggression from Cobalt, but I mean, obviously it worked out in the twins' favor, and good on them for coming up with a multi-bot that like actually makes people think for a second, and might cause like more thoughts of, ooh, like how could we make a multi-bot work? Just, it's stuff to think about. Once one design is successful, that kind of gets the wheels turning in everybody else. After that, we saw Bloodsport versus Minotaur. I loved that they kind of highlighted Bloodsport's use of telemetry. I think that it's really cool. It's a really cool idea because so many times with builders, you have a robot and something goes wrong and you're like, oh, I want to understand what happened. And kind of having that system to measure all of these different things in the robot and give you data is really valuable. The really difference here, like the juxtaposition between this and the first fight, is that Daniel Freitas with Minotaur does not hesitate. He does not care. He will be strategic, of course. He's not going to drive recklessly, but he's going to go in and hit you. And that's what he did with Bloodsport. Now, Minotaur's, fairly low to the ground. It's less of a concern with an overhead like Bloodsport kind of getting taken out by that weapon. I mean, it is a concern, but a little bit less for Minotaur. And he just went in there, hit the right spots exactly where he needed to get that robot flying, and was successful. I mean, Minotaur doing what it's doing. There is a very good reason, to me, why a lot of the builders were thinking Minotaur is going to go all the way with this year. Because, I mean, in any given year, I would think that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Minotaur, but I still would think that. It's a very capable robot, very scary. Daniel's an amazing driver, and yeah, you kind of saw the result of that there. Next fight was Orbitron versus Witch Doctor. This was very new school versus very old school in terms of robots that have been around for a while. Interesting thing, of course, is that Witch Doctor has new drive motors, and that hasn't been a thing in the past. So it does make it faster, and that is going to factor into fights. I mean, Witch Doctor looks great. Like being honest, it looks great. Orbitron is interesting. It is really interesting. And I think that, there's a lot of hype over the AI component. It's really cool, but the fact of the matter is with AI, yes, it can do things that humans can't, but it also humans can do things that it can't quite as well. I use AI in my job and everything else like that. And so I kind of know that all too well, that like sometimes it's amazing. When it works. And when it doesn't, then there can be misses. I mean, a tap out after 35 seconds is not ideal. I think that the Orbitron team certainly has some stuff to look at, and I think that, they're going to be able to maybe make some changes and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, it shows that we don't have to worry as much about AI because it is not perfect. It's not, you can just program it and it does everything exactly the way that you want to. It's like anything else, like any machine that you create, anything, where you have to be iterative with it, and you have to, kind of get it to where you want it to be, and it takes steps and time to do that. Next episode, episode 5, going back to Cobalt again, although this time versus Copperhead. And it was such a tragic fight because Copperhead was winning most of that. They were getting really good engagements, and it kind of just goes to show you when you're watching a fight that the robot that is winning the fight, or looks like it's doing all the right things, it takes one thing to turn the whole fight. And that's exactly what happened here. It was one situation of the robot ending up on the shelf and then getting behind the bar thing that was coming, and after that, it completely went Cobalt's way. I totally understand the judge's decision because Cobalt, yeah, was getting beaten up quite a bit during the first half of that, but it was still running, still driving. Weapon was still working, everything was firing other than just the control part of it and the aggression part of it going to Copperhead. But when Copperhead started to go downhill, it was really bad, where they really weren't able to do much, and things like that. So completely understand the judge's decision. It stinks, because I think that kid is just an amazing driver. I think that he's just going to keep getting better and better. And it would have been nice to see another win for Copperhead, but they'll come back, they'll figure it out. Just a rough one for them. The next fight was Bloodsport versus Hypershock. So it is honestly hard and devastating to see what's happening to Hypershock happen to Hypershock, but it's a thing that can happen. It has nothing to do with driving. It has nothing to do with anything. Like, Will actually put it best, when he was talking about, putting so much attention to design and making the robot pretty. and maybe not focusing as much on some of the other stuff that other builders were doing, and that hinders them. That's probably a part of it. I mean, you can make a beautiful robot. There's plenty of beautiful robots that work great, but you have to have that balance. And maybe it sounds like they felt like they didn't have that balance. And that's why things are happening the way that they are. It really just took one big hit and put Hypershock on its head, and started smoking within just over a minute. So, I mean, really great win for Team Bloodsport. They looked very excited, as they should have been, to beat a robot like Hypershock. But I think that Team Hypershock then has to look at that, look at those first two fights and say, maybe we need to think about some different things, and maybe we need to take a different direction with this. And that's okay. It's completely okay. And it doesn't mean that they don't have it anymore, or they can't come back and, like, really wreck the field. I think that they're perfectly capable of doing that. We're just seeing a design that maybe doesn't work anymore in today's environment, and they need to modify that a bit. The last scheduled fight for the episode was Disarray versus Tombstone. Now, I have to say that the interview with Ray Billings, about Tombstone dropping out, I was almost in tears. And that's because I've had the pleasure of getting to know Ray, outside of just watching him on BattleBots and talking to him and everything else like that. And Ray is such a nice person, and a, very thoughtful person, and has so much passion for the sport. And I can't even imagine, after, being out with an injury, deciding to come back, bring Tombstone back, and have that happen. That had to be really hard. Like, I can't even fathom what he was dealing with, internally, kind of going through that thought process and that decision. Really sad. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful, like, tribute to Tombstone at the end of that episode, going through, like, past fights and Ray winning the giant nut and all of that stuff. Like, that was really nice for BattleBots to do that. Even though in my heart, I believe Tombstone will be back. Ray loves this. He loves doing this, and I don't think that he's done by any means. But it was really hard. And then you kind of have that juxtaposition of emotions with Calypso getting to come in and fight, which Calypso is just, such an amazing robot. I love that robot. The design is beautiful. It's fun, and it's nice to see them get a chance to come in with it. Not only come in with it, but get a 44-second tap out from Disarray, just absolutely eviscerate them. It's a cool robot, man. Like, I'm really excited about it. I would love to see it come back and back and back again, because I like seeing something different and innovative. And it certainly fits that bill. I'm going to have a chat with Price a little bit later in the episode from Team Calypso to talk about that fight, and just, I'm sure, the wave of emotions, with the team, because that was crazy. The last episode, episode 6, so Ribot versus Witch Doctor. Ribot didn't do so good in episode 3. Now they're facing Witch Doctor, like a considerably upgraded Witch Doctor, but upgraded robots don't account for little driving mistakes, and driving mistakes are not something that Mike Golightly does. He's one of the best drivers in the game, and that doesn't happen. But he even kind of referenced, in his interview later, that he just, made one little boop, and Ribot took advantage of it. It just took that little thing. And Ribot got that KO within 20 seconds by knocking Witch Doctor out of the arena. Which is something that doesn't happen very often, but it's fun when it does. I think, would everybody involved have liked a longer, more drawn out fight? Yes, because 20 seconds is not a long time, but um, obviously very exciting for the Ribot team to see the weapon be able to do that and to capitalize on an uncharacteristic error and get that win. So good on them for being able to do that. Um, the next fight was Huge versus Minotaur. So this was a very close fight. But I think the great thing about showing the judges decision, having Fawn talk about that. Just to be clear, because I was at some of the taping of this BattleBots, um, for people that thought that they were having the clarification because, the decision was controversial, that's not what it was. They actually did that several times throughout shooting, and they may not have always shown it on TV, where they had the judge clarify. So I think it was just something that they were doing for like throw a little bit of, mystery or controversy into it, but like there really was no controversy. The explanation of why the judging went that way was pretty clear. Minotaur stayed aggressive the whole time. They were always aggressive. They were able to do quite a bit. They were just shoving their face into Huge's face with little regard for their own safety. So yes, Minotaur had a bit of an up and down weapon. Huge ended up, losing their weapon. It was a close fight, but ultimately Minotaur was the correct decision for the winner in that fight. Difficult for Team Huge because I know that they were looking forward to really having a banger season after the last time when they were in the finals. But it's still a great robot. It's a great robot. It just, Minotaur's a little tank, and sometimes that can be hard to deal with. So at least it went the 3 minutes. I mean, that was cool. It was honestly one of the more exciting fights for me. So that was really nice to see. Um, Lastly, in episode 6, Death Roll versus Malice. First of all, Team Malice's buzzer press was hilarious. Like, it was just funny. I just have to say that. But with the actual fight itself, the crazy thing is, as often goes in these fights, if Death Roll could have stayed upright, I think they win that. If they're able to stay upright and drive, I think that, at worst, like Malice burns out, who knows? But the fact is that Death Roll was on their head, they couldn't self-right, and Malice wins. And, hey, like, good on Malice for being 2-0. Like, that team had to be so excited about it. For a team that is not like primarily focused on winning, that had to be really exciting for them. And I'm so happy for that team that they were able to do that. I mean, that's like a nice little feather in the cap. Hey, you're 2-0. I mean, like, Malice is hitting really hard. Those weapons are tanky. Like, I understand. And it's really cool to see. Death Roll, it's so hard for me because I love that robot so much. It's one of my favorites of all time. Just the design and everything. It's so fun and cheeky, but it's also so deadly. And I mean, I really hope that what's happened this season does not discourage that team, and that they do bring that robot back. Maybe go in, improve it, like do something because I love it, and I think Death Roll needs to be part of BattleBots. So that was a lot. That was a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. Still so much to go, but I think it's been a really interesting pro league so far. Some unexpected wins, some unexpected losses, some really good fights, a lot of knockouts and tap outs. Like really even compared to what I think we've seen in the past. I think we've seen a lot more fights go to a judge's decision, and we just haven't seen as much of that in the pro league. So kind of interesting, but we'll see how that goes. So stay tuned to finish out the episode with a really cool interview from Price. All right, we are back for the last little bit of this really big episode because there were so many episodes of BattleBots to talk about. And as I mentioned earlier, I really, really wanted to talk about Calypso, especially the fight with Disarray, because that was insane. So let's talk about it. I have Alex Price here with me, and yeah, I'm just really excited for Calypso. So welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me back. It's wonderful to be back, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
Uh
for sure.
s- surprise.
I know it surprised even me, which I didn't think that there was much with BattleBots that could surprise me, but really exciting stuff. Like talk about the kind of the flow and set of circumstances that led to Calypso being in because, it looked like in the earlier episode, we obviously know that like Tombstone had some challenges in the first fight and, seemed hopeful that they could come back and it just didn't work out that way. So, how did that all go down as far as to get to Calypso fighting in Pro League?
Oh goodness. So with us getting to fight in Pro League, obviously there was unfortunately Ray was having issues with the new Tombstone. I cannot speak to the issues that he was having. I know that there were brushless controller issues that came with the new Tombstone. He has a video on his YouTube channel explaining a lot of it. It is an excellent video. Go check it out. Plug, plug, plug.
Plug, plug,
Um,
plug.
but when it came to us fighting, the the reality was we were ready to fight for pretty much every filming session that there was. Um, that was something that I made sure to kind of like get on the team about was to just like, hey, let's get in queue because you never know. Production was sort of all around us telling us, hey, be ready in case in case this bot can't fight, or like, oh, I don't know, this one isn't looking all that great. And so a lot of it was just kind of like production buzzing around us and being like, hey, did you hear about the hey, how about that? And I don't know, man. When we got the call, essentially, uh that phone video that they showed?
Yeah.
That was us being told. We found out then. Uh so like I said, you know, we were ready at the exact right time that we needed to be. Pretty much immediately, I want to say almost immediately after that video got filmed, uh we were kind of like we had to, grab the robot, get it in position because we were about to go out. Like it was everything happened really fast. It was, hey, Ray can't fight. Hey, you're in. Hey, here, have something of an interview. Okay, go. And it was all kind of a blur, but with 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 however many fights we've done at this point, gosh, what was it? I want to say, yeah, no, it's been at least 6 fights that we've done with Calypso at this point, I think. Yes. We just kind of like went out there and did our thing, I suppose. Crab, crab, crab. Like I said, a lot of it was such a blur.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was because when it happens that quickly, and even if you're prepared, you're also like, you can't fully be prepared, for how you're going to necessarily feel in the moment. Um, did you even have any time to put your thoughts together about like your opponent and how you were going to go about like going after them?
So, as Al had brought up in the pre-fight interview, uh, we have fought Disarray before. We fought them at the next generation face off. Uh, we knew that there was a very distinct chance that we would have had to have fought Disarray. Given the current state of our wedge configuration, it was kind of good that we didn't have to like fight anything with a horizontal weapon, but the only other horizontal there that weekend was Valkyrie, so we wouldn't have had to necessarily worry about them. Valkyrie was finding their groove again. So essentially, we kind of had a feeling that we were going to be fighting a vert. We kind of knew like how disarray works. We didn't know if they had changed a lot since last year, and after their fight with Magnitude, it was like, okay, actually, yeah, disarray seems to have a bit more durability. Drive at the very least continues to work, and like the weapon was spinning for a while, and so it's like, okay, cool, let's get down to this. Let's see. Obviously, the config was kind of the same as it would always be for a vert, forks. Because if they're going to be running a wedge, then we run the forks. But outside of that, it was kind of just like, let's get in the box and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of stuff happened.
Yes.
Watching that, I can't say that I was completely sure how it was going to go because, as you said, I mean, Calypso is a newer robot, as is Disarray, so it's not like you have years and years of fights to kind of go back and look at. But Calypso was obviously very dominant in that fight, and managed to get a pretty quick out, with Disarray not really being in a state to continue. I mean, the team had to feel super elated by that, especially not necessarily knowing whether you were going to get to fight or not.
Oh, like Josh said, it was just the worst day of our lives. No. Uh, it was, it was, I mean, obviously it was incredible. Obviously it was incredible because like, oh my gosh, we were able to like actually do this. We showed up and we showed out. Like, obviously we had big shoes to fill. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're walking around in your like in your mom or dad's clothing, just like, I'm an adult. Nah, nah, nah. You have to like suddenly fill in the shoes of like a legend in Tombstone. And, being able to go out there and, put on a performance that I think Ray would have been proud of was something that for me was very meaningful in that moment. Um, Josh obviously is insane on the sticks. He was very careful with his drive, but he capitalized on moments where Disarray was unable to do anything to us, and he capitalized on them beautifully. Uh, and yeah, we were so stoked. We were so stoked.
I'm sure. After that performance, I mean, without going into, obviously anything that happens from here, do you feel like there was any buzz with the other teams to be like, okay, like Calypso's actually, doing some stuff?
Um, I think I would hope. Like obviously we did shoot to the top of the leaderboard at in Group B. So I think like at the very least, Magnitude may have been like watching us a little bit, just like, wait, where did these guys come from? Uh, Obviously Magnitude has a little bit more, time to prepare for us now, and they have Zach Knight doing their configs, and that guy is a genius. Like, so much love for Zach Knight. He's like really good at what he does, and so with with that coming up the pipes, it's just like, oh no, what's coming up here? But I do think that some people have started to take notice, I would say. Sort of
Yeah.
around this time, people are kind of taking notice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, crab supremacy, right?
Crab
Like,
supremacy 100%, baby. Everything
uh,
must return to Crab, including BattleBots.
exactly, exactly. Well, I'm really excited. I mean, I think that it's interesting to see, so far, seeing a design like Calypso do so well when, sometimes those more unique designs maybe don't do as well, and seeing a multi-bot like the twins put on a really great performance, where multi-bots historically have not done well in BattleBots. So that's the kind of stuff that's exciting for me to see something that's a little bit new and energizing.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, Pro League so far has been, just like surprise after surprise after surprise. And like that's one of the things that I am looking forward to the most moving forward with Pro League. Uh it's like we start to see a lot of these you're starting to see like a lot of these newer teams kind of like rise up and you know upset a lot of these well-established names. And I wouldn't exactly say that you're starting to see a changing of the guard because obviously a lot of bots are still kicking butt. Like Minotaur is still doing Minotaur stuff as Minotaur does. But seeing these new bloods come in after a lot of time uh a lot of time away from regular battle bots and kind of put people on notice. It's really exciting, and especially with the twins, like goodness gracious. As a multi-bot apologist myself, I do tend to really enjoy seeing designs that were once thought of as unviable uh start to become more viable. And it helps that Aaron Hill's behind it because Aaron Hill, brilliant. Team seems reasonable, excellent, like drivers, builders, just everyone behind the twins have you know so much pedigree in order to make this thing into a good machine. The rise of like sort of more unique designs lately has been something that is so exciting to see, as somebody who also has a very uniquely designed robot. The twins, or say Orbitron, or say Calypso, uh a lot of these newer, more unusual designs are kind of starting to show a little something something.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm gonna be excited to see, the next several episodes of Pro League. I mean, there's plenty left to go at this
Oh yeah.
point, so I'm sure that there will be more surprises and more exciting fights to come. But I appreciate you coming on and talking about this fight in particular because it was just a standout fight for me in amongst this group of episodes, and just excited to see more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me once again, like anytime.
Of course, of course. And for those that are watching this, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, all of those good things. Keep supporting combat robotics, and we'll see everybody next time on the show.